Asabi Charles, the grieving mother of Achazia James of Fort Road, who tragically lost her life last year, feels that there are individuals in Antigua and Barbuda who are aware of the circumstances surrounding her daughter's murder, but have chosen to stay silent. Achazia, just 15 years old when she was killed, was discovered at the Runway Beach in the early hours of August 18, 2024, with numerous severe injuries, including a severed hand and a disfigured face. 9 months after this horrific event, her mother shared her ongoing anguish with Antigua.news, describing it as a daily nightmare.
Work with the authorities because, it's sad to see that the people cannot trust the law enforcers and they were put there to protect the people. And the fact that the people can't trust them, it doesn't speak good on their end. But still at the same time, you can't trust the law enforcers. You can't trust them, but yet still help the family because you know things.
Yeah.
You can't say to me that you stand up and watch a man, that there was multiple people and see a man get shot, and then when the officer comes to you, you can say you didn't see anything.
So you believe that there are people out there who knows what happens to your daughter?
No, there are persons, of course, they know. Not only my daughter, but others. Jennifer, she was not only a daughter, but she was also a mother. How do you explain to her baby when he reached that age, your mother was murdered? She started to create a bond with her son. You understand? So, baby Chantel, she didn't even live life as yet. Speak up. Come out. Speak up. The life you save may just be your very own. So speak up. Let's move away from this notion of, police can be trusted. Man, want my name call up. And let's move away from it. If you know something, say something. Come out and say something. You don't even have to go to the police. Call the hotline. There's a hotline. Call the hotline. Make your story clear. Nobody will know who is telling you, who is saying this, who is saying that.
The very distraught mother, with tears lingering in her eyes, spoke softly about her heavy heart. She expressed her belief that justice will ultimately be served, but the thought of Sundays brings an unbearable ache. Each week, as the day arrives, she feels an overwhelming sense of loss. It's a stark reminder of what once was, a day that now amplifies her grief and loneliness, leaving her to grapple with the unimaginable weight of her sorrow.
It all goes back to that morning I woke up and I didn't see her. Tried calling her phone. I wasn't getting through. Called her sister, called her friends. It just all goes back to that Sunday, every Sunday, if I'm being honest.
Prior to receiving the news, Asabi, what was your last communication or memory of your daughter?
The last thing she asked me was, Mom, should I put on a tights or not? And I said, yes, you should. You're not going to be comfortable not having on your tights. And then she said, should I take out the shoelace that I have in or leave? And I said, no, leave it. It goes with your top. The last thing I heard her said though before was her saying to her sister, you always waste time, but so I'm going to come here and up in a one and give you some edges. And those were her last words that I actually heard from her before I felt into a dose.
But no matter how many days, months, and even years would pass by, Asabi says no mother could ever forget that dreadful morning, not even if they tried. The memory clings to her like a shadow, haunting every moment, every thought.
Take us back to when you got the news that your daughter was found dead on the beach.
I did not get the news that my daughter was found dead.
Tell us what happened.
I literally found out for myself that it was my daughter who was murdered. So I got up the Sunday morning to use the bathroom, and I realized when I looked in her room, she wasn't there. So I called, and calling her, I weren't getting her. I knew she was saying, the show, she was very adamant that the show was finished at 4. So, so I looked, I didn't see her. I called her phone, I wasn't getting through to her. I called her sister, I wasn't getting her sister. I called her friend, and I said, she has a friend there. I called him, I said, Devontae, where is Achazia? He said, I didn't go to the show now. Achazia went with Azria. I said, yeah, but I'm not getting through. Anyway, that's where I got worried, because I'm calling my both daughters, not getting through to them, and that's not them.
Yeah.
So I called. Before that, I would have seen in my alumni group that a body was found. It's like, when I saw that, a strange feeling came over me, I kid you not. And I'm just like, like this gut feeling in my stomach. And I was just like, really? And I said, it said woman. Woman was found, chopped up, and I was like, again?
Even though no one had explicitly informed her of Achazia's demise, a deep instinctive sense, one only a mother could understand, crept over her that early morning.
My daughter visited me, me not knowing that she was being murdered. I can just imagine her last words. Mom, I will kill me. And I knew she put up a fight.
You think so?
I don't think I know she put up a fight. Who Achazia is, and if you knew her, she put up a fight. She didn't go down just like that. And, it's hard. The last time I saw my daughter before that Sunday morning, that Saturday evening she left home, would have been the 14th of October when I laid her to rest. When I looked in the coffin, I saw myself. Honestly.
You saw yourself in the coffin?
I saw me laying right before my eyes. I kid you not. They have never said to me how they met her. I don't know what. They try not to be plain out. I guess they were trying to secure my mental health and everything. But then, I received the death certificate. And when I read everything on the death certificate,
what did it say? Do you remember?
Yeah. They said she had her hand amputated. She had lacerations to the face, to the head. She died of bleeding of the brain, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And I read all that. But seeing her in the coffin was not what I read, And I have to say, hats off to Straffy for that. Because they did promise me.
They put her back together.
They did say to me, we may not bring her exactly to who she was, but I can tell you, I'm gonna do my best to bring her as close as possible. And they honestly did, I must say. My daughter looked as if she was just sleeping right there.
But Asabi, Achazia's mother, is not the only one affected by her untimely death.
My dad was in church that morning. He was actually worship leading that morning, and he broke down in tears. I have never seen my father cried For the 30 odd years of my life, that morning was the first I ever saw him shed a tear. And it was not a normal tear. He broke down. He broke down, you know, for days actually. My sister did not speak to anyone. She closed everyone out. You know, mom was and still is the strength of the family. You know, we always say she's going to break down, and she's like, oh, I'm not going to break down. And I have witnessed to see her break down. You know, especially when it comes to her plants and doing little things around the house. Achazia would always been that one, you know, cleaning up the yard whenever and Achazia was that. So she, you know, she would break down, and what most hit was that morning when school opened back. It really, you know, it touched her, knowing the fact that everyone was coming home or going to school. Although that morning was a gloomy morning for students at the Princess Margaret School, you know, the whole auditorium broke down in tears that morning. I can tell you that much, you know. So she has been our strength. You know, persons will look at me and ask, how you do it? If it wasn't for the mercy of God, with God's strength, I can do it, but in my own strength, I would have a long time ago.
Meanwhile, Asabi has faced criticisms from the public, particularly on social media, for allowing her 15-year-old daughter to attend parties and events that are considered more suitable for adults. In response to these concerns, Asabi addressed the criticism.
Yeah, the question is asked, why was your daughter out at this time of night?
Yeah, so a lot of these questions on social media.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, my daughter was not the only 15-year-old out at that night. On that night, it was a young people show.
What show was it again?
Oh boy, I can't remember. Some young people was coming, and
everybody went out.
Yeah, and not only that, she wanted to see some Cayman 6, 7, 8, whoever. I don't know these people, you know, because she would have already seen, I think it was Nige Boy, or I don't know these young people. Tell me about Barris Hammond and these people.
Yes, we know about them.
We know about those, but the young, I don't know them. So, you
just
know,
like me.
She was adamant that she wanted to see this person, you know, and I think at some point in the day on the Saturday, I did say to her, hey, whoever you want to see now, come in again now. But then her sister, she's like, me not about to go then, because he not come. And her sister was the one that said to her, I want to go.
That's her older sister.
Yeah, I want to go. So she
went.
She decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to go. You know, sometimes I ask myself, did I go wrong? Or, you know, nobody know how I grieve. And not because I don't come to the social media platform or I don't answer every last crin and cran that is posted. I was not on social media before my daughter's murder. So me going on there after her murder, it wasn't going to happen because it wasn't me. That's not who I am.
Right.
You understand me? Me browsing through and coming... Going on social media disturbs my energy. It disturbs my spirit. So here it is. It's just WhatsApp, Instagram. That's it.
The investigation into the tragic murder of Achazia James continues, shrouded in mystery and heartache. Her mother, filled with both anguish and hope, appeals to the community, urging anyone with knowledge of the events to step forward. It raises profound questions about our collective responsibility in such cases. How many of us turn a blind eye when we know something is amiss? As police sift through the testimonies of various individuals, the inconsistencies in the accounts given by some witnesses highlight a troubling reality. Truth can often be elusive, especially when fear or allegiance comes into play. What drives someone to hide the truth about a crime that has forever changed a family's life? We don't know. Achazia's mother stands strong, however, claiming that behind the scenes, the authorities are working diligently. But the question lingers: is it enough? Will justice be served in a timely manner, or even at all? In a world where these tragedies occur all too often, it compels us to think deeply about the importance of community, the courage it takes to speak out, and the vital role each person plays in seeking justice for those who can no longer speak for themselves. This has been a production of Antigua.news. I am Shermain Bique-Charles.